I didn't really have anything planned. Oh, fake RWBY fan. Oh, it's it's been 10 years since the first chapter of RWBY was made public, and I've only been in the fan base. Well, I've only been watching the show for about 8 years. I didn't really get involved in the fan base all that much until more recently. Um, it's it's very wild to think that the show has gone on this long and is easily the biggest that it's ever been, with not just the 9 volumes of the show proper, but 4 novels, video games, as well as video game crossovers, the 3 Justice League crossovers, the Volume 4 comics, just so much to come from the show. And I mean, that's a lot for even just 10 years, honestly. And it's been great, because it's been great to see, because I still, not from the very beginning, but watching from the early days and still getting to see the show grow as it happened for the most part. And this year getting to be a part of the RWBY Reactor community by doing reactions for Volume 9. And that was an experience, not just as a RWBY fan, but that was also a bit of a learning experience. It was a learning curve for me, just as a content creator, getting used to OBS and stuff for recording and everything. And it was probably the most fun I've had watching a RWBY volume so far, just because of getting to put that content out there and have a bit more. It had an interesting dynamic compared to all the previous years of watching RWBY. We need the show to be allowed to finish. It needs to be allowed to continue to its needed end. This story deserves to be told. Monty's vision deserves to be seen all the way through. It absolutely does. And keep that green light volume 10 going, so hopefully it can be greenlit. When they announced at RTX that they hadn't been greenlit yet, but they had been working on it just in case, that's about what I expected. I kind of figured that was going to be the case, was that because Volume 9 just happened and they're still kind of like determining the success of Volume 9, I'm not that surprised that it was more, it's not there yet, but we have work being done on the writing front so that when it is greenlit, go, go, go. I should have scripted, but I wanted this to be absolutely as genuine as possible, but if you haven't seen it yet, it just came out maybe 2 hours ago, I think. 2 hours from recording. It'll be even more before this uploads. But a little emotional. Avery Marie posted a RWBY 10th anniversary special video that I'm actually a part of, and I watched it as it went live, and I did actually cry during it. Um, I cried actually when one of my segments popped up, because it just so happened that my segment played well, part of my segment had already played, but a different part played during Indomitable. And Indomitable is not just my favorite RWBY song, it's also just my favorite song in general. So a part of my clip playing during my favorite song, it got to me, and I did cry a little bit. It was a beautiful, beautiful work to see it finally fully come together, and I loved it. I'd been looking forward to it since it was kind of conceptualized, and loved it. It was fantastic. The final product is absolutely great. I'll put a link to it in the description down below, and probably put it at the annotations at the end as well. It just... it's so good. I highly recommend going and watching it. I briefly touched on it in that video about, like, just how much I love that Monty's vision has been allowed to keep going thus far, and how it's very poetic for his indomitable philosophy, which was the human spirit is indomitable, and that your greatest dreams may not be achieved within your own lifetime. And that is so poetic for what RWBY is, because RWBY is Monty's vision being seen through after the end of his lifetime. And I don't know, there's always been something kind of like tragically beautiful about that to me, that it worked out that way. But it's very poetic is really what I mean. And I do wish that he was able to be here to see it through. If he had known it was going to get this big. This show is, it's my favorite. It is absolutely my favorite show. And it's a very important thing to me. When I watched it at first, I was like, oh, this is really cool. And I got super into it at first. Then I kind of fell off for a little bit. And it's around volume 7 that my love was reinvigorated. It was reignited. And after, or I think, no, it was after volume 7. Between volume 7 and 8, I started doing all my rewatches, countless rewatches of RWBY, and realizing how much, one, I had forgotten from my first time watching, and two, just how much I actually do love the show, and how much my opinions had changed, because originally I wasn't that big of a Volume 4 fan. Then I rewatched it and realized, oh no, I am a fan of this. Old me was just stupid. Not to say that if you don't like Volume 4 you're stupid, of course, but I think my past self was stupid for disliking it. Just me, just on me. I'm only calling myself stupid here. I love... Every volume has something to absolutely love about it in some way or another. And if this is a show that you've not started yet and you are considering watching, I will say, I do think that if you can get through Volume 1, you can get through the entire show. As I do love Volume 1. At the same time, it is kind of the quote-unquote worst that RWBY has to offer. Well, maybe Ice Queendom, but I'm only saying that comparatively. However, I would say that. I'm only saying it in comparison to the other volumes. Volume 1 is the worst volume, but it is still a really good volume. And if you're able to, deal with the, $5 budget and a dream animation that they had back then, you can get through almost anything. I've gotten so many friends hooked on this show. It's just so good. The twists that it takes with the varying tropes that it has, the way that it flips fairy tales onto their heads, or just the way the story progresses, the way that all the protagonists are all interesting, the villains are all interesting. You even get side characters that people get obsessed with, like Ciel Soleil, Sienna Khan. For me, it's Saber Rodentia, Gerbil Boy from Volume 5. The dude who is part of the menagerie, I guess, police force. I don't know. That's my dude. Because your fondest trait is having buck teeth, and I don't know why, but that's funny to me. I said it in the semblance ranking tier list. Semblances are the coolest form of superpower, in my opinion. They really are. Weapons of RWBY are all super cool, and I'll eventually get around to doing the weapons tier list, too. Oh, man. I think about this show on the regular, and it's had such an impact on how I view media. It's had an impact on how I write media. It is the most... It's not even just a show at this point. With all the supplemental material, RWBY is not just a show at this point. RWBY is a multimedia franchise. And I love that is an accurate term for it. I love that is what should be used to describe it, is that it is a multimedia franchise. I love it. It spans across varying mediums, and I love it. I absolutely love it. The Volume 9 epilogue that they showed at RTX, that is... If they get to do Volume 10, they said that that's going to be a scene in Volume 10. And I feel like that might be my first time crying to RWBY on this channel. Not my first time crying to RWBY, no. But unless I do more of the re-reactions, and we get to, Volume 3's finale, where I might cry, or Volume 8's finale, where I'm even more likely to cry. If I don't do those before Volume 10, wow, would I be slacking. I'm already slacking as it is. But if I don't get to those before Volume 10 and that scene comes up, that's gonna be my first time crying to RWBY on camera. I didn't cry to anything in Volume 9 the first go around, but rewatching it is a trip. It's an absolute trip, and thinking about all of the implications of Volume 9, and there's an existential dread that comes from thinking about Jean's 20-year isolation, and I got a little sad when I realized that there's nobody to mourn Neo, because Roman's already dead and nobody else is gonna mourn her. I got sad thinking about that. Yeah, there is the thing she did to RWBY, but also Neo is one of my favorites, so I feel bad. But at the same time, she also had the best villain send-off of any RWBY villain thus far, and I love it. I didn't mean to delve into too many specifics, but I'm rambling just because I wanted to put something out of my own for the 10. I just love this show. That's really all that I can. That's all I can say. Is I love this show. I love RWBY. I really, really hope that it gets to see its way to the finish line, because that's what it deserves. So let's keep it up, shall we? Let's keep it up. Hashtag Greenlight Volume 10, so that we can hopefully get the story to continue and eventually one day reach the desired finish line. So, that's it.